Welcome to the Jillian Greyse Show, the podcast that doesn't just inform, it transforms. I'm Jillian Greyse, frequency architect, multi-dimensional strategist, and your guide through the unseen layers of reality. Each episode is a living transmission, crafted to rewrite your patterns, recalibrate your field, and activate the truth encoded in your DNA. We'll navigate the energetic architecture behind relationships, trauma, intuition, purpose, and power, and close with a guided activation to embed the shift into your system. This isn't self-help, it's subconscious reprogramming. This isn't coaching, it's timeline engineering. This isn't content, it's a frequency shift. And if you're done with surface level advice, if you're craving depth, data, and divine disruption, if you're ready to stop performing and start embodying, you're exactly where you need to be. My name is Jillian Greyse, and I'll see you there. Before we drop in, a quick note on the name shift. This podcast began as Rewrite Reality with Jillian Greyse, but then others started launching copycat shows under a similar name, trying to capitalize on my framework, my voice, and my intellectual property, and I decided to make the pivot. Not out of fear, but out of precision. Because when your signal's that strong, people will try to replicate it. But this frequency can't be faked, and this blueprint can't be borrowed. Moving forward, this transmission will be called The Jillian Greyse Show because my name isn't just a label. It's a signature, it's a signal, and it's a claim of power in the space that we helped architect. Same content, same power, same knowledge, but now it's unmistakably ours. Welcome to the original transmission, the one that started it, the one that leads it. Now let's drop in. On this episode, we are going to be focusing on the energetics of socialism. Why socialism in an energy state is a very detrimental system and what it will cause if it's not understood properly. And this was not a scheduled topic. I've got a list of topics, so many topics to handle on each one of these podcasts, but this one came up suddenly based on a lot of people who are sending me in messages and responding to the recent events that just currently happened up in New York. And I wanted to take a step back to give all of you a perspective that's beyond an opinion. It's beyond just what you feel politically. It looks at the structure of an environment that would be thought of as socialistic, and it shows you the frequency around that environment. I'm going to be chatting about the energetics of it. I'm going to be chatting about the science of it, and I'm going to be giving you knowledge that you don't necessarily get the opportunity to receive when it comes to what and how to view the current situation that's happening. And a lot of times you'll see a lot of publications, a lot of influencers, a lot of people who are providing with information, just giving you opinions. And as always, I want to give you the frequency of something, because if you understand the frequency of it, you understand the vibration and you understand how it manifests, how it will grow, and how it unfolds. And knowing that vibrational energy is the core of what we are, and it also controls the environment around us, gives you the power to understand exactly how you want to allocate that power and allocate that knowledge. And I try very hard to make sure that I'm giving you only the energetics, because there's so many opinions out there, and opinions really aren't as important as the frequency of what something will implant. And that frequency is what essentially grows, not necessarily the opinions, not necessarily the thoughts. The frequency begins to expand. So my quest is always to give you the frequency so you can see what's being planted, you can see where it's coming from, and you can also have the knowledge both scientifically and energetically about what begins to grow and how that evolves. So you can make the choice on what you want to do and how you want to spend your energy and what you want to buy into, so to speak. As always, at the end of each podcast, I finish the podcast with a guided transmission where I am inputting frequencies into your field. I'm giving you the information on how you can center yourself in whatever vibration that we chat about. So at the end of this episode, we are going to be doing a abundance frequency meditation or an abundance frequency transmission. So take a moment to join me in doing that and visit it as much as you'd like as we continue throughout the coming weeks, in the coming months, anytime you feel like you need to instill that deeper energetic abundance value into your life. In the world of socialism and giving people things that they did not earn, you are creating a dynamic in which somebody doesn't understand how to rise above and increase their frequency. I'm going to explain that a little bit further. The amount of abundance that you have, or what you're able to accumulate in the outer world, is a direct reflection of the amount of abundance that you maintain and that you're able to hold in your inner world. Self-worth and self-love are equal to your bank account. No one likes to hear that, especially in an environment where we really haven't given many tools for people to cultivate self-worth and to cultivate what their inner truth is. And when you don't give people the tools to do that on the inside, then they aren't able to cultivate it on the outside. And then when people cannot cultivate it on the outside, instead of knowing that the inside is what needs to be built up, they begin to blame the outside, and they put themselves into a victim mindset. Now, I've talked about this many times before. The victim mindset is the most controllable mindset you could ever be in. Feeling like a victim, identifying with a victim, and allowing your vibration to be that in which celebrates victimization causes the same frequency to continue to come into your life. The only way to shift out of that is to understand that you are greater, to find your own inner self-love and self-worth, and to rise up and move beyond that. In a socialistic environment where you're giving people things that they energetically don't deserve based on what they believe is their victimization, which is their inability to actually cultivate it themselves, you begin to create from the wrong frequency. You create from the frequency of lack, the frequency of anger, and the frequency of not feeling good enough. And no matter what you have, if that is the frequency that it is holding, that is also the frequency that it will continue to perpetuate. There's an old classic proverb that says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. That was an ancient way of letting us know that the power is not in receiving, the power is in cultivation. And when you give what is not cultivated, then you create a collapse, both inner and in the outer structure. That is the reason why socialistic environments do not work, because you're overriding the energy of what is at the undercurrent of that frequency. Now, I want to take a moment to say that when it comes to helping people in need, this is a very different situation. If someone is in a situation where they need extra help in order to get back on their feet, that's very different. And should we be empathetic and sympathetic and aware to help people that are in need? Absolutely. But do we create an environment where we give things and we distribute them equally, regardless of someone's need, just based on what they want, even though there's no earning? That's a very different concept. So sometimes, and what I'm finding is happening, is this over accentuation of telling people they need to be suicidally empathetic, which means they need to have so much empathy for someone and where they are regardless, that they actually don't understand that they're parasitically killing off themselves in the meantime. And I'm seeing that theme happen very commonly amongst especially people that are in younger generations. The way that they were taught, the lack of understanding of frequency, that is causing a disconnect between the energetics and the quantum of the vibration that they truly are. They are not going to achieve the outcome that they're looking for based on the frequencies that they're trying to force, because the mindset of self-love is not there. Perfect example of what happens when you're provided with abundance, but you don't cultivate the self-love to hold that energy, is what you see in a lot of wealthy families. So you'll see a lot of these Hollywood stars that have children And their children are inevitably going to inherit the wealth that they have cultivated. But also, as they're growing up, they're given that wealth as well. And so many of them are drug addicted. So many of them have major mental health issues. So many of them are in very dark places that they almost have become an example of what not to do. And so many people have even turned away from Hollywood and turned away from the world of celebrity and glamour by seeing the mindsets that it instills in their children. And then there's a whole culture that came up around nepotism and around people who view the offspring of these individuals, and they even solicit to the public this instant reaction of annoyance, this instant reaction of discontent. And that's because when you look at them, you feel the frequency, and you feel the frequency of someone who comes from extreme lack, but yet they're out in front of the world, but they don't have that deserving energy that lets that synergistic of I belong here vibrate in the background. So inevitably, they end up in very bad places mentally, emotionally, and they struggle to even function as they move forward in their life. This is a classic example of inheriting frequency. It cannot be given. It has to be created from within. When you receive something that is not yours and you can't hold the frequency of it, you become self-destructive. And that's what we see in so many cases. Prime example, what I just gave you, where you have a wealthy parental figures and they send a lot of energy, a lot of money towards their children, and the children end up in very bad mental states and very bad addictive states. And this is a huge issue. And the reason for that, many people will say, is bad parenting, but so much of it is a bad energetic. You are simply giving someone more abundance than their vibration can handle. Now, I did an entire podcast on the vibration of abundance and the vibration of self-love. They go hand in hand. The more you love yourself, the more you're prompt to create what you are here to do, and the more abundance begins to flow. We see this often with a lot of influencers where they've created wealth and they're just being themselves. Now, of course, you have your fake crowd of those, but especially the early ones that came out. And a lot of authenticity gets financially rewarded. Even authentic ideas, authentic creations, they end up being lucrative. That's because at the core of abundance is our own personal creation, what we're here to give the world. When you give people things without the earning, you take away their ability to cultivate the creation that makes them the creators, that gives them the value to fulfill the reason that they're on this earth, to fulfill their soul's intention. And when you do that, you create a collapse. So I wanted to step out and really clear the air about that, because there's so much that you see on social media. And so many people are confused about what the actual understanding of socialism is, especially with what's going on in New York. And to have that be a snapshot is rather alarming. And people who don't understand the energetics of it, they'll watch what takes place in an environment like that. I mean, it's as simple as Googling and finding out historically what happens in socialistic situations. It happens that way because the energy frequency that cannot be maintained. And the faster you understand that, the more you start to look at these major issues that we're dealing with as a culture, as a society, and you start to look at it as how do I empower individuals and not how do I appease individuals. And as you empower individuals, like I opt to do every single time I sit down in front of this microphone to do this podcast, I want to give you information that's going to make you a better frequency, that's going to make you a stronger frequency, and that's going to help you to create. I want you to do that. I don't want to just give you information that is blindly followed and you get nothing else from it to help cultivate a better being. I want to give you the tools on how to do that. And that's why I do this podcast. That's why I released my masterclass. And that's what I've been doing for 2 decades. Because what we also don't understand is when you give someone the energetics of being able to evolve and being able to become stronger and to grow within themselves, that affects the frequency as a whole. Before we continue, let's take a breath. You're here for a reason. not by accident, not by coincidence, but through divine orchestration, and these words were meant for you. This is your moment to rewrite humanity. Think of one soul in your life who needs this transmission and send them this podcast episode now. There are so many out there who are silently struggling. Our role is to reach them, to ignite something ancient and true, whether it's someone you love, someone lost in the noise, or someone ready to remember who they are. This is your chance. Because vibrational awareness doesn't just shift minds, it realigns lifelines. It reawakens paths. It reconnects souls to their original blueprint. Be the bearer of that light. It isn't just generous, it's sacred work. Share this, speak it, seed it. This is more than a podcast. It's a movement, and you're a vital part of it. Let's rewrite humanity together, one frequency, one soul, one remembrance at a time. Now we continue.
So what might look like an isolated situation where you're just giving things out to people because socialistically you think that that's the best way to be and you don't understand the energetics of it, that's actually parasiting. It's pulling from you your own abundance frequencies, and your abundance is going to shift. Your self-love is going to shift, and it's going to create detrimental issues for you as well. I spoke about this in my book, The Infinite Dance of Giving and Receiving. It has to be an even flow. I just chatted a little bit about this in my last podcast, where we talked about the divine feminine, the divine masculine, and how the both of them have to have a synergy within in order to create a whole. That creating with a frequency is so much more optimal than trying to be the whole frequency on your own. We've talked about this as we've moved through. And I want all of you to not be blinded by some of the headlines you see. I'm even seeing mental health counselors come out and talking about how, there was a basis of socialism for everything. And they're so unbelievably mistaken. That's the wrong word. There was a humanitarian effort that helped assist people in need at times, that uplifted groups. There was not a socialistic environment in which people who did not want to cultivate self-love wanted to still receive. Those are two different factors. So I want to clarify that. You have your resurgence of people who are in that mental health community that really should evaluate if they should be in that mental health community. Because if you don't understand the basic energetics of something, then you really are never going to be able to help someone heal. You have to always look at it, regardless of your opinion, at the core of how that energy flows, because energy is what even holds on to memory, which then causes events to continue to replay. So you need to be able to train the person you're with on how to control or to restrict or redefine that energy. So it's very interesting to also see that happening throughout social media. So for me, I wanted all of you to understand that core energetics of it. Your bank account equals your level of self-love. The more self-love you have, the higher your bank account gets. We cultivate self-love based on taking care of ourselves, based on learning, based on being proud of ourselves, based on finding our strengths. So if we are being given something that we have not cultivated within, it will perpetuate a collapse both inside and out. This has happened many times through history. You can do the research yourself. This is also seen readily available in wealthy families where the children are not taught how to have respect for themselves, how to grow, how to educate themselves, how to find what they enjoy, and they're just given things. So you create an imbalance, and that imbalance does collapse every single time. I don't want anyone to be confused about that. There's no outliers when it comes to energy. And now that we understand that from a perspective of being able to see and being able to experience, I want to give you the actual energetics behind the quantum that show that that type of a thought process is extremely detrimental and will create the fall of an environment. The first scientific proof is in the quantum field theory, which suggests that everything is energy and our personal frequency determines what we attract. When someone cultivates self-love, they emit a coherent, high-frequency signal that is measurable, and that resonance aligns with abundance. So if you were to take people and you were to put them in a room, some that had abundance and some that didn't, there would be a very different resonant frequency based on quantum field theory. Giving someone abundance without that inner frequency creates energetic disalignment, which destabilizes both the giver and the receiver. And this is quantum theory, everybody. So I'm not just giving you this information out of nowhere. It's actual science-based theories of how the energy flow works. The observer effect in self-worth is another one. In quantum mechanics, they talk about the observer effect. It shows that consciousness influences outcome. When individuals are taught to expect abundance without cultivating self-worth, they become passive observers rather than empowered creators. This actually weakens their energetic imprint and leads to a collapse in personal agency. That is quantum mechanics. And I'm going to go through the quantum of this. I'm going to go through each individual theory for you to understand. And those are two main theories that prove exactly what I am trying to express to you so that you can really understand what side of the fence you are on this and also empower yourself in a discussion with somebody who may not have that knowledge. And this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a lot of people that are ignorant towards true information. And they're taking that ignorance and they're trying to push it into the world to create truth out of ignorance. And the two of those frequencies are completely incompatible. It's very challenging to watch. So our objective and your objective should be to educate as much as possible. The next is a quantum entanglement theory, which reveals that particles or people remain energetically linked. If one person receives without cultivating a frequency of worthiness, the imbalance affects the entire system. Socialism, when misapplied, can entangle people in dependency loops that suppress soul growth and self-love. Just what we just talked about. And that's basic quantum entanglement, everybody. It's like the quantum field 101. And last but not least, the example that I'll give you is in frequency medicine and manifestation. Studies in frequency medicine show that luck and manifestation are not random. They're measurable outcomes through electromagnetic coherence. Systems that reward incoherence, which is lack of self-love and lack of effort, disrupt the field and lead to energetic collapse. All of these are energetic ways of knowing how abundance is the byproduct of cultivated self-love. When we bypass that cultivation, we will create energetic debt, and energetic debt always demands repayment. I want to remind you of that. And how strongly you should not, I don't want to say be against those types of structures, because what you're against, you're also putting your energy into. I want you to look at it for what it is and be clear in maintaining your belief around it. So be clear that when you give something to somebody, you need to be receiving back, and that there is a cultivation much deeper than what you believe is taking place in an environment that will frame the future. So there has to be a cultivation of self-love. So instead of looking at this as how do I give this person items and give this person what they want with nothing, you have to look at it as how do I give them more self-love? And there's nothing more on earth that reflects deeper than inner love. The more you love you, the more you're going to radiate love. The more you're going to hold a deeper frequency that's going to radiate throughout the entire vibrational universe, that's going to create a positive influence around the collective. And everything we talk about on every one of these podcasts is always going to be centered in how we raise your frequency to cultivate a deeper amount of self-love. So when you ask yourself the question of, oh, is it really that bad to have a socialistic environment? And before you look at some of the things on social media where some people that you think should know better are saying, well, socialism can be a great opportunity for A, B, C, and D. I want you to understand the science, the energetics, and to also learn the karma you're accepting when you choose to be okay or a part of that structure or to ignore the energetics of it. The frequency of what happens when you give more than someone else is able to receive, or you take more than you deserve, is as clear and defined as gravity. There are no exceptions. And in all honesty, my heart goes out to people who cannot understand this because they're placing themselves in an environment of having an experience that will be forever changing for them. If you want to look at this energetically, in support of it or being in support of it is also lending your creation to an energetic law that creates destruction. And as always, if you create that type of energetic debt, that energetic debt will eventually be demanded to be repaid. And to be on the receiving end of that is something that I would not want to be. So have an awareness and stay away from that suicidal empathy because it will take you under and it's not helping anyone. You aren't being a better person by putting yourself in bad spots from an energetic standpoint to help them. You're actually sacrificing yourself along with that individual. And that doesn't make you a leader. That makes you a follower, and that makes you someone who's too ignorant to get the information necessary to make the proper decisions, to actually be someone who's here to promote change and here to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. Okay, now we are going to move on to our transmission, where I am going to be walking you through a guided frequency around creating more abundance. The key to assisting everything that's happening right now is to step into your own abundance. So I want to make sure that each and every one of you have ways of quieting the mind and centering your frequency into that vibration. You could take a moment to find a quiet place, or if you cannot find a quiet place, just repeating the words that I'm speaking, allowing your soul, allowing your being to feel them, that will also give you some energetic resonance that's necessary in order to recalibrate your field. So take a moment now to move into whatever position you'd like to be in, and let's begin. Inhale deeply and exhale fully. Let the outer world dissolve with each breath. Each breath, you descend into a deeper awareness. Your body softens, your mind opens. You are safe. You are sovereign. You are ready. In the temple of your heart, the codes of abundance have always lived. These codes have whispered, as within, so without. As you vibrate, so you create. Take a moment to breathe in and draw a golden light from the center of the earth into your spine. This is the frequency of abundance. Pure, infinite, coated with your soul's blueprint. Let it rise through your meridians, clearing every block, every doubt, every inherited scarcity. Repeat silently. I am worthy. I am magnetic. I am the source of my abundance. Feel these words imprint into your cells. Let them become your new energetic currency. Take a moment to feel your future self in your heart. Radiant, resourced, filled with love, and generous. You are already living the life you desire. Now merge with that frequency. Let your vibrations synchronize. You're no longer becoming, you're remembering. Take one final breath and seal this activation with gratitude, thanking the energy of your soul for taking this time out to expand and gain knowledge. Moving forward, carry this frequency into everything you touch. Abundance is not earned, it's embodied, and you are ready. I want to thank all of you so much for taking the time out each week to calibrate your energy with me, to learn deeper truths about vibration, and to step into your own blueprint to be your creator. I'm truly honored to be your guide on this journey. Please support this podcast by sharing or reviewing it on whatever platform you're listening to. My name is Jillian Greyse, and I will chat with you next week. Thank you for listening to The Jillian Greyse Show. You've just experienced a frequency shift. Don't let it fade. If this episode moved something in you, share it. Send it to someone who's ready to remember who they are. And if you're called to go deeper, subscribe, leave a review, and stay tuned because this is just the beginning. I'm Jillian Greyse, and this is more than a show. It's a signal, it's a recalibration, and it's a return to your original blueprint. Until next time, stay aligned, stay awake, and keep architecting the reality that remembers you.